Hi, welcome back. I'm Doc Palmer. I'm the author of McGraw-Hill's Maintenance Planning and Scheduling Handbook. Maintenance planning and scheduling is a best practice. It's obviously intuitively something we should do, but most people can't make it work. They find it's an excellent opportunity to make a lot of people angry. To get it right, we can have a competitive edge because most people miss it. We want to run planning as a Deming cycle, embracing imperfect plans where the craftspersons help us make the plans better over the years. And scheduling, we want to fully load weekly schedules to defeat Parkinson's law. We'll have lower schedule compliance, but we'll complete more work than we would normally complete. So that's an interesting thing to think about. Today, I want to talk about aids and tools that a planner would have. And obviously, the first thing is just simply the files, whether they're paper or electronic. The most important file, they're all important, would be the asset specific files. These are the files you keep on each asset as you work on it. We're like a dentist office. Planner is a craft historian making these files better for that specific asset. I also call them component level files. And I also call them mini files. Not that there are many of them, which there are, but they're miniature files versus keeping all the work orders in large system files. In there, we ought to be able to see the existing plans that we've been making. This is a living job plan. You may have several plans for each asset, but they're the living plans for that asset. We ought to also be able to look at the history. We would prefer to have, from a planning aspect, a state-of-the-art job plan, which the history might reflect. We've done this job different ways over the years, but this is the way, that's the best way to work on it. Now, your engineers, reliability engineers, of course, would be looking at the history to see the level of breakdowns and the frequency of breakdowns and see if there's root cause analysis and different projects they can look at to fix that. We also, planners get in the habit of collecting equipment data. That would be not just, but a lot of the serial, spelling there, serial and nameplate information. Now, when you build your plant and you replace equipment, you really have to lean on your engineers, your project engineers, your project managers in the project to give you this digital plan. But a lot of times we're changing equipment all the time. We really need to keep that digital plan in place. A lot of times your project engineers will give you a big physical plant and not all the digital plant information. We want that digital information, and the planners continually improve that. And then bill of materials, that's the spare parts list. Planners should be collecting that, modifying that, working with inventory on that to keep that up to date. Some of your CMMS programs can automatically update that whenever you use an asset, using that asset. But whenever you use a work order, using that asset number, if it uses a spare part, it can automatically update the bill of materials. We want to be a little careful that I do suppose people might check out the wrong part with the wrong work order number and corrupt your bill of materials. But I would like to have that collected over the years. You get rags, degreaser, and some junk stuff in there. But it's stuff we use on that asset. It might be better to collect it and then let the planner edit that than to not collect it at all, especially if we're doing unplanned work orders. You can automatically be building that bill of materials. I would also maybe just as much prefer if you could run a report in your CMMS. These are all the parts that have ever been used against this asset. And then you can use that when you're building your job plans. Maybe have that dovetail into your inventory system to update those bill of materials. Your planners also should be able to see the normal PM and predictive maintenance routes, tasks that are done on these assets. If you have a work order dealing with a seized, ruined bearing, is that asset even on a grease route? What kind of grease did it use on that grease route? Who did the route? How long did it take them? Just some of that stuff would be good to have. On technical files, not very good at spelling today. That might include your O&M manuals, whether they're paper or electronic for that. So go to a second page here. There's the paper specific files, and then just in general your O&M files. Also want to talk about attachments to work orders. With a paper work order system, you can have a attachment that you use more than one time. You physically staple it or put it in a package with the work order. As we're going more electronic, we want the attachment files to be an attachment like email, where the source document might change, but what's attached to that email or work order does not change. We don't want to look in the past to see what went on with the work order, but the source document from a linked document that has changed over the years. We want to know what the state of the attachment was when we worked on it. Kind of a cross between that, if you have electronic work orders, but you have some large paper attachments, you might have a file in the planner office by work order number with these paper attachments. And when the craftsperson gets the electronic attachment, it will say, you have a file in the planner attachment, in the planner office in the attachment file. You would go to the planner office, you would go to that file cabinet by work order number, and get out your paper attachment and use that. Then, let's see, going on, vendor files. We have a lot of vendor catalogs. We also have contact names and numbers. Could be in here you have purchase order history. These are all things that the planner should have at their fingertips in the planner office. And then forms. You might have alignment, check sheets. We also handed out deficiency tags, things to help people on work orders. The operators don't mind hanging deficiency tags, but a lot of times it's not convenient, I'll say it that way, convenient for them to go to the store and get more. So they're so important to us in the planning role that if we have stacks of these that we can continually hand to the operators and maintenance people, they'll be more likely to use that. At my company, when I worked at the electric company, we had a separate lube oil manual, aside from the CMMS, that had a list of the different assets and the lube oil that they used. We would occasionally change lube oil, and it was easier to do that in a lube oil manual rather than to do that in the CMMS, just the way we had it arranged. Then there's other things that the planners would have available to them, which would be plant schematics. I think the electricians and instrument techs make more use of those. It might be that if the planner of an instrument or electrical job would just reference the right documents if they're electronic, or make paper, made a copy of the areas they're going to work, or the small sheets that they could hand out with that. Safety data sheets. used to be material safety data sheets, MSDSs. Typically, everybody in the plant is trained on how to use these, paper, electronic, they're in different places around the plant. And as a craftsperson, you're expected to be able to go find the safety data sheet for whatever you're working with. And because everybody does that, we typically in a paper system would not print a copy of the safety data sheet for every chemical that they're working on with a job. We might electronically now more, we might not even reference some of the common chemicals, stuff they're working with. But if it is an unusual chemical, unusual in that fact that we don't encounter it much, but it has unusual safety risk, oh yeah, make a copy, make a special reference of that. You, as a planner, you're helping the craftsperson get the information they need. You're not overwhelming them with data that they don't need. So be careful with that. The rotating, or you could call it critical spares program, is when we remove a large pump and we replace it with another pump, a new pump, a rebuilt pump, and the system's up and running, we're making money now. The items that we want to rebuild, whether in our shop or sending them out, or the mechanic themselves would rebuild it, maybe not in a shop environment, that should be done on a separate work order. And you need a tight process at your facility. Who writes that work order? Is it the supervisor? Is it the craftsperson? Is it the storeroom? Is it the planner? And each of those has pluses or minuses on who does that. But it has to be a tight process that's monitored with organizational discipline. Because the worst thing you want is you've got 3 motors and none of them got rebuilt. And now you need one of those motors out of your stores to replace, and you don't have anything available. That would be the worst thing for reliability. You've got this great other asset you could use, but you didn't rebuild it. So that has to be done. Don't let that get away from you. And then finally, the CMMS itself as a tool. The planners are the primary user of that. And the planners are so good at using that everybody has a tendency to come to the planner for help. A craftsperson will come up and say, can you find this for me? And we want the craftspersons to do their own research on jobs in progress. Remember, what we're doing as planners is adding value. We want a craftsperson able to cope in the modern electronic world to do this job. We want the feedback so we can give them a better job plan the next time. But during the execution of a job, they might need other information because your plan wasn't perfect and we don't expect that. And right or not right, they might come to the planners, can you find this for me? Because they know that you as a planner are more familiar with getting in and out of the computer. In that situation, we should help, but always make the craftspersons watch. Yeah, I'll help you find that. Yeah, look here. No, get off your cell phone. Okay, you do this, you type it, no, watch. Yeah, I'll wait. Who are you texting? Okay, now here you go. We type this and this and this, and you get your information. Okay, do you want to try it? Okay, good. No problem. And eventually they'll learn to do it on their own, or there'll be a couple of persons on the crew that are really good at it, and they'll go bother them to go the information, and they won't bother you as much. So perfectly willing to help. That's super valuable information. We want to help in job in progress. But as a planner, you need to be focusing on future work. So help jobs in progress, some not at the expense of planning all the work, but train people while you're doing that. Same for supervisors. Supervisor comes up and says, Doc, can you find this for me? Say I'm a planner today. Yeah, I can do it for you, but yeah, wait right here. You got to watch me though. Yeah, it's my supervisor told me. I help you. You got to make you watch. All right. I'm trying to train you. Okay. You type in this. Who are you texting? Okay, no. You type this, and this, and it gives you the list. You want to try it? Okay, no, good. All right. And they'll get better at it. Your supervisors are pretty sharp people. And we deal with supervisors, planners at a peer level. We don't want to be antagonistic toward them. We want to help them as much as we can, but we want to train them as well. Now, engineers are different. Engineers, if left to their own devices, will abuse the planning department and make the planners do all their research. Hey, Doc, can you find all the information on the boiler feed pump on unit number 3 last year and the last 3 years before that? No, I thought that was your job. Well, you can get a login to Maximo. Just go ask Bob. No, you don't know how to do it. Okay, I'll help you this once. But so help the engineers. They're doing a super valuable job, but they've got to be able to get in and out of the computer well too. So train craftsperson supervisors and grudgingly train planners to try to get them to do their own work if you can. But you got a valuable job as a planner. These are the tools. So, well, that's about it for now. But thanks for letting me be part of your maintenance family. You can see some of my past conference presentations and articles on my website, palmerplanning.com. And thanks again for letting me join you, and God bless.